Hello all, and welcome to a two-part theory series surrounding the movie Across the Spider-Verse. This movie is this is a doozy. It seemed so simple on the outside, but the farther down you dive, the more complicated it gets. This series will go into Miguel, Miles, and even Hobie. In this episode, we will be mainly focused on Miguel. Miguel, or Spider-Man 2099, is a very mysterious and complicated character with quite a few problems. This dark Garfield made Miles question if he was truly a Spider-Man due to his strange actions. Miles posed a very good point. Let's ask ourselves if Miguel is actually a Spider-Man. We have seen spider people before with many differences, such as Penny Parker and Spider-Bite, but these characters acknowledge their differences to the other spider people. Miguel, on the other hand, acts as if he's a normal Spider-Man, but he is clearly not. The normal Spider-Man story revolves around a radioactive spider bite that leads to the person obtaining spider-like powers. These powers include a spider sense, the ability to stick to surfaces, shooting webs, and super strength and agility. Miguel's situation is quite a bit different. During the train sequence, we can see that Miguel can't actually stick to surfaces, and instead needs to use his claws and arm blade to dig into walls. When he fell down, he could only catch himself by digging his blade into the train. Right off the bat, Miguel isn't doing very well in the Spider-Man checklist. The next bullet point is the ability to shoot webs. Now, normal spider people seem to have two ways to shoot webs. They can either create them organically or use a synthetic web shooter. Miguel seems to be the latter. His web shooters are synthetic, but not like normal synthetic webs. In fact, nothing about his web shooting is normal. Whenever a spider person shoots their webs, they do the classic Spider-Man hand pose as the web shoots from the bottom of their wrist. Miguel, on the other hand, balls his hand into a fist to make the web shoot from the top of his wrist. It feels sacrilegious for Spider-Man to do such a thing. So far, Miguel is 0 for 2, but let's see how he does with Spidey senses. The Spidey sense is a spider person's ability to sense danger, other spider people, and their environment around them. We never see Miguel actually use Spidey senses, but that doesn't automatically mean that he doesn't have them. A supporting example that helps reinforce the idea that Miguel may not have a Spidey sense is the Miles chase sequence. In this sequence, when Miles and Miguel are jumping over cars, we see a person point Miguel in Miles's direction. This doesn't automatically mean that Miguel is without Spidey senses, but one would think that if he could just sense Miles, he would already be back on his tail. We won't say that this is a complete miss from Miguel, but we won't say that he absolutely has Spidey senses. We'll give him a half point instead. So right now, Miguel is 0.5 for 3, which is still not very good. There's only one final Spider-Man point left, and that's the spider bite. In the normal story of spider people, the person gets bit by a radioactive spider which gives them spider powers. For Miguel, we have to do a little bit of deep diving as we don't see his origin in this movie. Luckily for us, there are plenty of Spider-Man 2099 comics to peruse through. According to these comics, Miguel was never bit by a spider. Instead, he was sabotaged. While Miguel was remapping his corrupted DNA with his original DNA, a coworker of his attempted to kill Miguel by impairing the DNA. Miguel had survived, but now his DNA was spliced with the genes of a spider, which seems to parallel Miguel injecting himself in the movies. While it gave him the normal Spider-Man superhuman strength and agility, it also gave him some other unnatural modifications. He gained talons and fangs as we saw in the movie, but a difference is that in the comics, his webbing is organic. This seems to deviate from the two media. They both shoot from the forearm, which again feels weird to see, but in the comics his webbing is organic, while in the movie it is very clearly not. I feel we may owe Miguel a slight apology. It seems as if I must give him back the point for the web shooters as it is comic accurate, but don't get too excited now. I'm still not giving the point for spider bite. While there are still spider people that haven't been bitten, such as Pav, he still hits all the other Spider-Man qualities, which would mean he is definitely a normal Spider-Man. Miguel, however, is 1.5 for 4 in his Spider-Man mannerisms. Even though he acts like he's a normal Spider-Man, he is clearly not. While this is a fine thing to observe, this is not the biggest question we should be answering about Miguel. In Across the Spider-Verse, Miguel explains exactly why canon events are so important. He shows Miles exactly what happens if these events are broken through a presentation about an alternate universe. One where he replaced a dead version of himself, but it destroyed that entire universe. Our big question here is, what specifically happened to this universe? To answer this question, we have to compare the animation of this universe's destruction with Pav's. For one, both of them have the glitching effect. In Pav's universe, it was just on buildings, but in Miguel's alternate universe, it was destroying everyone. There is a very big difference, however. In Pav's universe, all the glitched effects are contained within the spot that opened in the ground. Even Miles mentioned that this hole was Spot's doing, so we know that the glitches are only contained to Spot's influence, not Miles's. The Captain is fine, it's just the area around Spot's, well, Spot. With this information, we know that this glitching can't just be a broken canon event, but something much more. Luckily for us, we have seen this animation multiple times before. Once in this same movie, and again in Into the Spider-Verse. In Across the Spider-Verse, we can see this glitch effect happen when the alternate universe Vulture escapes through the ceiling. Another time we can see this effect is during the Super Collider sequences. We can see this effect happen to buildings here during the final fight of Into the Spider-Verse, and this car as well. These glitches happen when universes collide and merge together. This isn't just an effect that happens when there's an anomaly. Alchemax has a super collider in multiple different universes, so these glitches wouldn't be a result of the super collider being a broken canon. Instead, this effect happens when universes merge. If these glitches aren't universal merging, but instead we're supposed to fix the canon and remove the anomalies, which may be an explanation for why the alternate spider people glitch, then Pav's universe should only be glitching the Captain and not the buildings. To take this a step further, Miguel's alternate universe should only glitch Miguel and the other spider people instead of everything else. Clearly, these glitches aren't meant to fix the universe, but still connect with multiversal merging. If that's correct, then it makes sense why this effect happens with the Spot in Pav's universe, as his spots are interdimensional. So if that were the case, this means that whatever happened in Miguel's alternate universe was an interdimensional merge. With the amount of spider people that were in this universe, it would make sense that there would be a multiversal merge here, no? I mean, if Miguel alone could break everything, imagine what damage all of these spider people did. During the train sequence, Miguel says that Miles killed his universe's Spider-Man by also getting bit. He says this as if two Spider-Men are not allowed to be in the same universe. But this is where some cracks start to form. If all these Spider-Men caused this immense damage to the universe, the same thing would be happening in Earth 928. But wait, in Earth 928, they are all wearing the watches that prevent glitching, so this probably also prevents the multiversal merge. Now, hold on a second. In Miguel's presentation, these spider people are also wearing the watches. So clearly that can't be what protects them. Well, okay, maybe it's exactly what Miguel said happened, that because he replaced his dead self, everything broke. Maybe if someone dies, they are supposed to be dead, and if they come back or get replaced, it would be too big of an anomaly. But hold on, isn't this what happened in Earth 1610? In Miles's universe, Peter Parker died, but then Peter B. Parker showed up and replaced him. This should break the universe, correct? But somehow it's still fine. Clearly, what happened in the presentation was not simply a broken canon, as all of these example scenarios that were given should have also ended with the same fate. So if what happened to that universe is not a broken canon, does that mean... is Miguel lying about canon events? Let's start with the same idea we mentioned previously. If Miguel is saying that replacing a dead self is breaking a canon, how come Peter B. Parker never broke any canon events? If we want to take this a step further, we can look at Universe 42. If our Miles is supposed to be an anomaly, how come the two Miles Morales in Earth 42 interacting are not breaking any rules? In Miguel's explanation of canon events, he makes them out as things that are absolutely supposed to happen. He mentions the severity of how if these events are broken, it could lead to the destruction of the multiverse. With that said, this should mean that each canon event is the same. Miguel mentions that Spider-Man has to lose a captain who was close to him while they are saving a child. If these events are this specific, how come spider people can have anybody take the place of Uncle Ben? Sometimes Uncle Ben dies, but for some people it's their aunt, uncle, or even their best friend. How could these canon events be so specific, yet so lenient at the same time? The inconsistency is frightening. When Miguel is discussing the Captain event with Miles, he uses a numbering system for it. He calls this event ASM 90. If these events have numbers and names, that means they should happen in a specific order, correct? In many Spider-Man films and media, the ordering goes Uncle Ben's death and then the Captain. However, there is at least one media that breaks this ordering. In Across the Spider-Verse, we see Donald Glover's version of Aaron Davis, which was portrayed in Spider-Man Homecoming. We also hear Miguel refer to Doctor Strange and Earth 1999-99, which, according to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe from 2008, is the exact universe that the MCU takes place in. With this cameo and Miguel's mention of this universe, we know that the MCU can be taken into account when analyzing Across the Spider-Verse. In the MCU, Tony Stark not only worked closely with the military, but eventually became a part of it. In Captain America Civil War, the Sokovia Accords were passed, which means that the Avengers would be monitored and regulated by the United Nations. From this movie until Infinity War, Iron Man was the leader and captain of the Avengers. This classifies Iron Man as a captain. With this description, more cracks begin to emerge. Tony Stark died before Aunt May. The MCU Spider-Man's captain died first. If these events are numbered to be in a specific order, this should be a broken canon, but it's not. Sticking with the MCU, Miguel mentions that Doctor Strange and Spider-Man tear holes in the multiverse, but it's more than that. In Spider-Man No Way Home, they didn't just open the multiverse, but they began to merge their universe with countless others. In the TV show Loki, He Who Remains was killed, which split the timeline into countless other versions of itself. This should be an irrecoverable event and multiversal merge, as we saw in Miguel's presentation, but somehow they are completely fine. Finally, getting away from the MCU, let's go back to Earth 42. In this universe, there was never a Spider-Man, even though there was supposed to be. The spider was supposed to bite Spider-Man of Earth 42, but instead was transported to Earth 1610. According to Miguel's Spider-Verse of Canon Events, we can see the spider bite as a main canon event. This should arguably be the most important canon event, but yet when we see Earth 42, it's still intact. Everything is on fire, but the Earth is still there with everyone in it. If we are to believe everything that Miguel said about canon events, then Earth 42, Earth 1999-99, Earth 1610, and Earth 928 should all be destroyed, but somehow they are not. Everything is still intact, and none of these universes have been destroyed. Miguel is the biggest liar in this series. He's not a normal Spider-Man. What happened to his alternate universe was not a cause of him just existing, but was a multiversal merge, and canon events can't be contained and monitored. If there was such a thing as these canon events, they should all be the exact same, but they are very clearly not. Breaking these canon events has yet to show any consequences. Pav's universe was a result of one of Spot's spots, the MCU still exists, and both Earth 1610 and Earth 42 are intact. Something is very wrong here. Sadly, this is where we're going to have to leave this episode. In the next episode, we will discuss everything surrounding Miles and his anomalous nature, how Hobie has much more to him than he seems, and we will finally finish with Miguel. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe. There will be more Spider-Verse videos coming down the line, so make sure you ring that notification bell to stay up to date for those future uploads. Let me know what you think of this video down in the comments. Let me know if you have any evidence that could either support this theory or even disprove it. This is still just a theory, so it could always be disproven later down the line when we receive more information. If you want to talk to my team and I directly, check out our Discord or join our subreddit. Check out RemGames live on Twitch, as I stream there every now and then on special occasions, so you'll want to be there for those. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.